All right, so this video is on two different footwork concepts or techniques. One is the drop step and the other is the spring step. And both of these are mentioned in Jack Dempsey's book, Championship Fighting. The mechanic that he's talking about not only delivers a lot of power, it also delivers really great and quick movement. And it's that quick movement that I want to address here. And that is the drop step. All the drop step is picking your foot up and letting your body fall in a certain direction. Before I get to demonstrating that, I want to show how different this is from how we normally move. So when somebody goes from standing, and you can watch this all over the place, when they go from standing to walking, here's what happens. And I exaggerate a little bit, but the basic principle is that they shift their body onto one foot, so their weight's here. That means they can lift this foot up to step and fall, and then they start walking, which is just a series of controlled falls. Now, we practice this every day, so this is our ingrained habit. When we want to get out of the line of an attack or off the line of an attack, we try to do that same movement really fast. So if I want to go to the left, I shift to the right, and I try to jump that way. And the faster and faster we go, we think, well, it's going to succeed because we're going to do that same inefficient motion quicker. And that's not true. Instead, rather than shifting the opposite direction where I want to go and then stepping, what we really want to do is keep our weight here and just pick up the foot in the direction that we want to go, and the body will fall there. In order for this to work, your knees can't be up and locked. Your knees have to be bent a little bit. And now from here, when you pick up the foot, you'll just fall that direction. It's much faster. Hard to tell the difference of how fast it is, and I'm going to demonstrate that here in a second. Before I do that, I want to cover one basic concept, and that is balance. So if you stand this way, and I want you to try this, if you stand with the weight evenly on the balls of your feet and your heels, I call this balance neutral. So this is kind of how most people tend to stand, generally. If you rock your weight back onto your heels, so there's only maybe 20% of the weight on the balls of your feet, I call this balance negative, and this feels very tipsy. You're very unstable here. What I want to point out from this point is if you rock back and now put 80% of the weight on the balls of your feet, this is balance positive. This is a very good mobile fighting position. From here you can shift and move in all kinds of directions. How this applies to the drop step is this. If you start with balance neutral and you pick up a foot, you'll move exactly sideways. Now, same foot position. If you shift to weight on your heels or balance negative and you pick up a foot, now you'll fall back. So you're going to change the angle of your movement based on that posture. So now if you go balance positive, you're on the balls of your feet, you pick them up, and now you're going to go forward a little bit. Now this is very useful because we don't want to be changing our feet around, and that dictates exactly where our body's going to go. We can alter it by where our body position and shift is. So if you're in a front stance like this, you would think normally, if I pick a foot up, I'm going exactly in the direction of that foot. But if you sit back just a little bit, you pick it up, you can go straight sideways. So now you have a lot of flexibility in the direction that you can go. So from that point, practice this drop step going every direction. Pick up a foot and see which way that you can go. And you can pick up the back foot and move that move the other direction. The foot you pick up will be the direction you go. One of the most counterintuitive things is to realize if you want to move your head, you move your feet. The brain says, oh, move the head out of the way, or duck, or start bobbing and weaving. If you're a boxer and you're only wearing shorts and shoes, you can do a lot of that. You're wearing heavy armor, you got helmet on, body armor. All that weight makes moving the body around much more difficult. It's much more exhausting. It will wear you out, and it will limit your vision because of the limited vision in the helmet. So this is the drop step. Now I wanted to talk also about the spring step. Notice when I do the drop step, I don't move myself offline by much. Generally, you don't need to move much, but sometimes you do need to move farther. The spring step comes in, and I'm going to turn a little bit. When this foot is off the ground and my body's falling, then you spring a little bit to move your body. It will take you a farther away from where you started than if you just did the drop. The other thing about the drop step, whether you use the spring step or not, is leaving the back foot behind. And this is one of the most common traits that anybody learns as they start getting used to the drop step. It's easy to think, I need my body over there, there's the foot that steps, and they leave the back foot behind, or they maybe drag it a little bit. So they move nice, good step with the front foot, and they're leaving the back foot behind. As you start training with the drop step, use just as crisp of a step with your back foot as you do with your front foot. And now you're loaded to go in another direction. You're always back to that same stance. So keep attention on that back foot. Now I want to show you the drill for getting a feel for the speed. So Perry, I'm going to bring him out. I'm going to put you right here so you can see a bit of the camera. And that is, I'm going to have a partner start just a little farther away than they could normally touch. So if he reached his hand out, he'd fall short. Yep, but if he leaned or he stepped a little bit, he'd actually touch me. So from this point, with his hand down, all he's going to do is reach out at kind of a normal speed and try to touch me in the chest. I'm going to use the normal movement that I would use for walking. So when I want to step offline towards the camera, I'm going to shift onto the other foot and step. And as he reaches, when I start, yep, there you go. And I'm going to try to go faster, but notice I'm not beating that hand. Because I'm trying to push off this, load the leg and push off of it. I just don't have time. Now I'm going to do the drop step. So when he reaches out, all right, his hand's touching over on the shoulder, but I don't mind it touching the shoulder. From here, he's not getting to the chest. This is going to buy you the most amount of time. Thank you, Perry. You can get a feel for the difference between being late with having to do the shift to launch off the back leg and then just dropping and falling into it. Actually, I want to do one more, and I want to... This is how I would use a drop step in terms of defense. I'll put you in the same spot. Typical, a snap is going to come to this quarter of the head. So if I drop off the line and I now use a level change, I'm going to lower my head from where it was. As the sword comes in this way, I'm just going to let my head drop underneath it. This means I'm not just pressing my shield up to get it in the way of his sword coming to my head, but I'm actually using the drop underneath, and now I would have a clear path to throw a counter blow. So same thing, if I shift onto this foot to come underneath, I'll be late, and I'm going to catch it right in the head. But if from here as he comes in, I just drop down, and I drop my head off the line of that sword strike, very good chance that you're not going to get hit. Of course, you want to tighten up the angle by bringing yourself behind your shield if you have a shield, or maybe getting the sword up as well to cover it. At any rate, the main thing that will get you out of the way and that will leave your sword not necessarily committed, so you could actually use it as a counter strike, is to use that drop and level change. This means you have to, thank you, Perry. This means you have to have pretty well-conditioned legs. Be comfortable dropping down into a kind of a crouch position in your armor. Train this up and condition yourself to do this. Get used to whether you can do it. Get comfortable lowering down and being able to shift and take your body weight. Use gravity in your favor. It's a really great tool. It really manages energy very well. And so use it. Drop step, fantastic tool. Thank you for watching.